Welcome to the Dashboard Effect podcast. I'm Brick Thompson.
And I'm Jennie Swenson, the director of the PMO here at Blue Margin.
Hey, Jennie.
Hi.
Good to see you again. I'm glad you came back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So this is another episode in our series of project managing BI projects. Mm-hmm. So what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, today we're going to talk about executing.
Okay. So I mean, executing, it sounds self-evident, but what's the executing phase?
Yeah. So executing is a phase within project management that follows our planning phase. So we've talked a lot about our planning and initiation and how we set ourselves up for good projects. Yeah. And here is where the rubber meets the road. It's where the work is done, deliverables are completed, and really where we're actualizing the plan. Okay,
good. So the last episode I did with Anne, mm-hmm. and we talked about project initiation. That was sort of the handoff from the sales department mm-hmm. to the engineering department and the PMO, project management group. This is sort of, okay, we've done that handoff, and now the rubber's meeting the road.
Exactly. Yep. She's set us up. Yep. The initiation process has set the foundation for the project. And now we're really here to take all of the outputs of that process and execute on them to deliver on the goals of the project.
All right. So I'm guessing there's a lot of different parts to the executing phase. How do you think about those?
Yeah. So really in executing, we're drawing on processes from a lot of different areas. So first, we're looking at project integration management.
Okay.
We're also looking at quality management, resource management, communications management, and risk management. And there's a whole bunch of process and kind of framework underneath each one of those that we have kind of in our playbook, if you will, to execute on our projects well.
Okay. So project integration management, that sounds fancy.
Yeah.
It's a technical term, I think, from the PMI mm-hmm. world.
Yeah.
So for us lay people, what does that mean?
Sure. It's really where we're taking all the outputs from project initiation and planning and building them into a cohesive strategy in order to meet the goals of the project.
Okay. And so what's involved? I mean, what are the pieces of that?
Yeah. So we're using like I said, we're using the outputs. A lot of those are tools and documentation coming out. So things like the project plan, the timeline. We have our set of deliverables. We likely at this point have a risk log that we're leveraging. We're also managing project knowledge. So really looking to leverage our client teams. So subject matter experts from our client teams on the data sources, the reporting areas that we mean to tackle, as well as on our internal resources. So looking at our technical experts and also people that have experience in the industry or on the topic area at hand.
Okay. And then so project integration management is really sort of and correct me if I get it wrong, but the bulk of what we're doing, it's the main thing. And then the other things you talked about support that. Am I thinking about that right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So what are the supporting pieces then?
Mm-hmm. So we've got project quality management.
Yes, okay.
So we talked in one of our other podcasts about quality here at Blue Margin. Yeah. That's been a big initiative for us. I mean, always, but very intentionally over the last year. We have a department that's set a really solid group of process in place to check in on quality for our report deliverables as well as our data deliverables. So we're really working with that department to continuously check in on quality as we're going through our development process and ensure that we're meeting our quality standards and, if not, making small tweaks along the way to until we really arrive at our
So that makes perfect sense. So it's really quality management around the deliverables, not so much the quality of our project management processes. That's kind of meta, but
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep, around the deliverables. We always want to ensure that we're delivering top quality to our clients.
Okay, great. All right, and then I think one of the other ones you mentioned when you were listing them was project resource management.
Right.
Okay, tell me about that.
So we've talked a lot about our resource management here at Blue Margin. So we're really talking about people primarily. In traditional resource management, there's everything from what sort of tools and software are you going to use and those types of things. But here we're really talking about people. Yeah. In a more traditional environment, we may see that we would actually acquire the resources during this phase. But at Blue Margin, we actually acquire, if you will, our resources during our planning phase. So I think we talked about that with Anne.
We know who's going to be working on the project, or at least we think we do.
We think we do, yeah. We definitely try to plan for that early to make sure that we have the right people in place to start the project on time and finish it on time.
Yeah.
So in executing what we're trying to do in terms of resource management is really just making sure that as the project kind of moves through execution, if things are changing, that we still have the right people on the team. I believe we've talked about in previous podcasts the idea of skill to scope match.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So wanting to make sure that we have the right people that have the skills to match the work at hand. So we're continuously checking in to make sure that that matches.
Because it might change.
It could change, yeah. Our projects change pretty regularly.
Yeah, you might find something you didn't anticipate up front or run into a problem that there's a person who has the knowledge and experience to solve more easily than the team that's on it, and so you bring them in.
Exactly, yeah. Sometimes we have to change the way we connect to a source. If we do that, we have to check in and make sure, is this still the right person for that work?
Yeah, okay.
Yep, so that's part of it.
And then I'm guessing there may be times where you plan to have a certain team when you were planning the project, and then for whatever reason, let's say we were delayed in getting the SOW signed or something, and so maybe a team member has gone on to a different project. I guess you're sort of managing that during this as well.
Yeah, that is part of it. We do experience delays on projects occasionally, as we have to change our approach, or work comes up in the project that we didn't anticipate. Yeah. And so we occasionally have to change team members in order to ensure we can stay on track for that project, or maybe another project that we have in the plans.
Yeah.
Right now we're running up against a lot of out of office for the holiday season.
Yeah.
So we're having to get really creative with how we're needing to shift work around and leverage our resources to ensure we're staying on track.
Yeah, that sounds like a complicated matrix problem to solve there.
Yeah, okay. It's a puzzle.
All right. What was the next one?
So still in resource management, the other thing that we're really looking at is making sure that we have the right people that according to the plan in order to control costs on the project.
Oh, yeah, right.
So we go into the project with a plan. We know approximately how much effort it's going to take for us to get the project done as planned. So we want to monitor and ensure that we're kind of sticking to that plan.
Yeah.
And also, we want to make sure we have the right people at the right time in order to make sure we can deliver on time and also plan other projects in our portfolio around that work.
Right.
So, sort of two aspects to the people management, making sure we've got the right people and then that they can implement the work per the timeline.
Yeah, okay. That it gets more complicated.
Yes.
Sounds like a bit of a Rubik's Cube, because I'm imagining, okay, you get a delay here, you got a technical problem there, the right person you want is come over here, maybe you've got a little excess capacity, you can throw extra people over here. So you're just kind of managing that every day.
Exactly. It's daily for sure, especially when we're really busy. One small delay can just have a domino effect on the rest of the portfolio. So we're constantly moving pieces around to correct.
So your project managers come together with you and do that kind of planning constantly.
Exactly.
You probably get pretty good at doing it, just kind of transparently, I bet.
We do. And we also have, I've said this before, our teams are really flexible, which we really appreciate.
Yeah.
So we can constantly be shifting around. And, well, I should say constantly. It's not that much, but there's some shifting.
Depends on the week.
Depends on the week.
Right. All right. And then let's see, the next one you had was project communications management.
Yep.
So that sounds self-evident again, but tell me what that is.
Yeah, so it's really making sure that we have the right message at the right time for the right people.
Okay.
We say all the time in our department, no surprises. We want to make sure we keep our clients informed of progress. So we make sure that we have the right people on the communications. I think we've talked about kind of our structure for communication internally and also with our clients.
Yeah.
We have a set of meetings where we review progress with them on a weekly basis. We also generally provide a recap of that meeting to the stakeholders who were on the call and even those who may have missed it, so they can stay informed on progress.
Yeah.
Internally, we meet up 2 to 3 times a week on active projects to check in on progress, make changes to the plan if we need to do that, adjust resourcing, things like that. We also have to customize our communication plan depending on the stakeholders and sponsorship on a project. So we work with a lot of PE firms who bring us, some of their portfolio companies that may need reporting. And so we have two sets of project sponsorship or stakeholders oftentimes that we need to communicate to. So we work with those primarily with PE sponsors to understand what level of communications, at what cadence, what does it need, what do they need from us in order to stay informed on the project.
Yeah, that'll vary a lot.
It varies a lot.
I know some of the PE guys will say, look, our management team has it at the portfolio company. Just work with them, and some of them want maybe a once a month check-in, and some of them want to be in the weekly meetings.
Yes, so, exactly. And some we have weekly meetings to stay in touch with them separately. We've had great partnership experiences with them. Well, they can really help us ensure momentum on a project. So we do customize our plan based on that. Yeah,
I'm guessing there's another piece of internal communications that has to happen with the sales consulting group too, right? Because they're out talking to our PE partners or potential clients, and they need to be able to talk intelligently about, okay, when do we think we can execute this work that we're talking about? And so you've got to keep them informed. Is that part of it? Yeah. So we do have a weekly check-in with our consulting group where we review what's in the pipeline. We do talk generally about what we have as far as available capacity, and I'm in touch with the director of consulting daily, so we can stay in touch on what we have as far as capacity in the upcoming weeks. Okay. All right. Anything else on communications? I think that covers it. That was good. Okay. And the last one you mentioned was project risk management. Yeah, I would say this is probably our biggest opportunity area in the list of processes that we've been discussing here. In executing, typically what we're going to see is really implementing a risk response. So ideally in our planning and project initiation activities, we're actually setting up the risk log, and we're establishing the steps we need to take to mitigate risk. And then in executing, we're actually implementing those steps. Okay. I think we were talking earlier, and we are fortunate that our risks are pretty minimal. We have very short projects. Yeah. So we're generally able to establish good mitigation strategies and execute on those for the risks that we do identify at the beginning of the project. Yeah. There's occasionally things that there's just not much we can do about it, and so we'll just monitor that one. But generally, we're implementing those steps at the beginning of executing, and then ongoing, identifying new risks and implementing strategies. Yeah, I like that. I've worked in project teams where we followed a PMI approach, where there's sort of the risk matrix where you've got likelihood on one axis and you have impact on another axis, and then you spend time mitigating for the ones that are more likely and more impactful. And as I was talking to you about that earlier, you said, yeah, that's true. We just try to mitigate all of them. Yeah. Which I like. And then obviously sometimes risks turn into issues. That's right. And then you have to do issue management too. Exactly. Yeah. And we were saying we will have a whole episode on change, how we manage change at Blue Margin. Okay. Yeah. All right. Good. Well, that was a great summary. Anything you want to add? No, I guess just to say this, I would say this is really where the PMO shines. This is our opportunity to kind of do what we do best, which is coordinating all the disparate pieces and making them come together to ensure project success. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, and you and your team do a fantastic job of that. Thank you. I've worked with a lot of PMOs, and you're the best. So, nice work on that. Cool. Well, all right. Well, thank you for coming. Yeah, thanks for having me. I think Anne's back on deck next week. She is. Do you know what she and I are talking about? Yeah. So we're going to talk about monitoring and controlling next week. Okay. Great. Really figuring out how we respond to change. Great. All right. Thanks again. Thanks, Brig. All right.